The 2019 iPhone 11 is the oldest iPhone Apple is still selling brand new, and approaching 3 years later, it still holds up as an amazing device running the latest version of iOS. In fact, I would actually argue that the iPhone 11 is currently the best value iPhone you can buy. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and at $500 without contract, the iPhone 11 is an absolute steal. What it lacks in the older display and thicker bezels, it more than makes up for in performance, camera quality, and battery life. Plus, it's got some nice colors too. How does the iPhone 11 hold up in 2022? And should you buy it? We're going to start here by going over my thoughts on the value of the iPhone 11 and why it's so worth it, and then move into some of the specifics of the phone like the camera quality and general performance. Timestamps, as always, are in the description if you would like to skip ahead. The iPhone 11 is absolutely worth buying in 2022, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right iPhone for you. It runs iOS 15 like a charm and will no doubt do the same with iOS 16. It takes fantastic photos still. Battery life, in my experience at least, has been very good, and it's just an all-round solid iPhone. But it does have its flaws, mainly centered around the mediocre at best display. If you're an enthusiast or someone who likes to have a high-quality OLED panel, this isn't the phone for you. It features the older classic Retina LCD with a pixel density of 326 pixels per inch, which equates to a sub 1080p resolution at the same quality as the 2020 iPhone SE or 2017 iPhone 8, or going back even further, roughly the same as the iPhone 4 from 2010. Obviously, there have been other display improvements, but the numbers are about equivalent. However, this doesn't make it bad. I'd argue that even in just calling it mediocre simply implies that it's just fine. And fine, in reality, is more than enough for most people. Using the phone feels fine. It doesn't look blurry or fuzzy or anything really, at least without looking too close. Or sure, looking at it compared to my iPhone 13 Pro does make it look worse, but on its own, the iPhone 11 looks and feels great. And the size is right about perfect in my opinion, at 6.1 inches, the same as the iPhone XR that came out a year beforehand. And in fact, the iPhone 11 is basically just a slightly improved XR. It has a second camera lens on the back to take ultra-wide photos, along with an upgraded chipset and a different array of colors. The iPhone XR was retired by Apple at the launch of the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro in late 2021, though you might still see it around here and there as carriers work to clear them out. If you do see it, I still think the iPhone 11 is the option to go for. The 11 is almost the perfect iPhone for the average iOS user. It's fast, it takes great photos, and just does anything and everything you might want your iPhone to do without the unnecessary bells and whistles that raise the price significantly. The iPhone 11 is an amazing iPhone, one I've been recommending since it launched, and one I will continue recommending until Apple discontinues it. It's worth buying on contract or unlocked, and you can expect a good few years of iOS support in the future, likely until late 2024, if not a couple years longer. I mean, the iPhone 6s from 2015 is set up to be supported until the end of 2022, which makes 7 years. So from late 2019 to late 2026 is not only possible, it's actually probable considering the new precedent Apple has set here. But even if it doesn't last that long, I'd say late 2024 would be the earliest support could be dropped, and I'll bet that the performance remains reliable throughout its entire lifetime. Apple's software optimization along with their stellar hardware is completely unmatched in the industry, and that's what makes iPhones so worth it. And if we were to turn to the used market, the iPhone 11 is actually a bit overpriced from my findings, at least on eBay. In US dollars, which is what I've been referring to this whole time by the way, I was seeing it go for about an average of $400, which might sound okay until you remember that Apple sells it brand new for $500, and buying new for an extra $100 is always going to be worth it, considering you don't have to deal with the potential issues like a well-used battery. Battery life inevitably degrades over time, and with this phone being over 2 years old, that's something to definitely keep in mind if you do buy used. If the battery health is around 80 to 85%, you're looking at degraded performance until you get it replaced, which Apple will do through their store for $70. And I keep throwing around the $500 price tag. That's applicable if you buy the iPhone straight from Apple. If you go through a carrier, good chance you're getting a deal, but those can vary so much, of course, it's just easy to go with the $500 price. So hopefully here we've established that the iPhone 11 is worth it brand new, maybe not so much used. Depends on if you're comfortable buying used or refurbished, and if there's that perfect listing interesting wherever you're looking. Buying new, the 11 is definitely worth it, and in almost any case, I would recommend just doing that. I really love the iPhone 11, I have since it launched, and it's just a solid phone, even as we start to approach 3 years later. The design of the iPhone 11 is simple, being basically an iPhone XR with an extra camera lens and that more square camera bump on the back. You've got glossy glass and an aluminum frame with 6 different color options in purple, green, yellow, white, black, and red. Naturally, I have the purple here, which I absolutely love. It's a very nice, subtle color. The XR was more vibrant, which I also really liked, especially the coral, but the 11 has a lot of appeal too. And if you're a boring person, you've also got white and black to satisfy your needs. I joke, and I know a lot of carriers often only have white and black in stock, but regardless of what color you get, I really feel like the iPhone 11 is a nice looking phone on both the back and the front. Flipping it over here, we get that Retina 6.1-inch display again with some chunkier bezels than in better iPhones, though honestly, I couldn't care less as it really doesn't take away from the experience, at least in my opinion. The phone is comfortable in the hand and feels good to use. Ultimately, that's all that really matters anyways. Of course, you do have the notch there with that Face ID, and we do get a few nice quality of life features like water resistance, wireless charging, and fast charging if you have the compatible chargers, and the camera gives us night photos, something that was new with the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro in 2019. This basically allows us to take brighter, less grainy photos in dark situations, an extremely useful feature, and along with that we also have portrait mode photos here too, for that nice beautiful bokeh effect behind the subject. The camera lenses on the back are both 12 megapixels, there's the wide lens and then the ultra wide lens. You can see the difference between them here. The main wide lens will always capture the higher quality photo, but the ultra wide is great for landscapes and other situations where the extra real estate is appreciated. It's nice to have, especially as the iPhone XR only had the one camera lens. Of course, video can be filmed in 4K up to 60 frames per second, more than enough for anyone, and the selfie camera can also somehow record in 4K 60. That selfie camera actually received a pretty big upgrade over the XR with 12 megapixels now instead of 7, though it's now used a bit differently than it was on previous iPhones. Basically, you get a couple different zoom ranges. There's a regular selfie and then a wider zoom that takes advantage of the full camera. It's nice to have some choices here, and it does a great job. Looking at the tech specs here, we have the Apple A13 chipset and 4 GB of RAM. Great specs for a great phone, and without a doubt it feels as fast as ever on iOS 15. Any game and any app should really run without any issue, and I wouldn't expect any change there anytime soon. iPhones are aging the best they ever have thanks to just the crazy fast hardware Apple's been pumping out year over year, and because of that, the iPhone 11 is a phone that doesn't feel 2 years old. It barely even feels a year old. It just gives such solid performance for one of the best value price tags of any smartphone currently being sold, and definitely the best of any iPhone. For a couple hundred more bucks, you can get a nicer display, or for an extra 100, you could get the iPhone 12 mini, which is quite a bit smaller, but again, nicer display. But beyond that, so those phones don't really have a whole lot of improvements over the iPhone 11. They do, but the displays are the biggest ones, which is something I think most people can live without, and because of that, the iPhone 11 is the best phone to buy for the vast majority of people looking to upgrade from an older iPhone. If you got $1,000 to spend, the 13 Pro is probably the one to go for, but if you have more of a lower to mid-range price point in mind, the 11 at $500 just fits that perfectly. Not cheap, but again, through a carrier, you're probably not actually paying $500 up front. If you're on the iPhone 10 or newer and want to upgrade, I would say you should probably look to something better than the 11, ideally like the iPhone 12, which is decent value, but as this video is focused on the 11, I highly recommend it, and I'm happy to say the iPhone 11 is without a doubt worth buying in 2022. So with that, I think I'm right about done here. Not that much to say because this is still such a strong phone. Not top of the line anymore, but it doesn't need to be, and the price reflects that. If you found this video helpful or interesting, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok at 91_tech if you'd like to for some reason. And with that all being said, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.